So this is the current correlation chart between the Turkish Lira and the Bund. So the reason I brought this up is it's not actually the trade we're going to be looking at today. What we're going to be looking at is a trade from a week ago or in another example of the Bund BTP spread blowing out. But this is just to give you an idea of how these correlations, which is the theme of today's presentation, is how they come in and out of play during the week, during the day. The correlation gets stronger and weaker at periods of time, and what's most important is to recognize the correlations as they're happening. So a good way to look at this is to be able to bring, if you can recognize that there's, say, in this example, the Turkish Lira and the Bund. Obviously we've had a lot of news flow coming from all the Turkish news over the last few days. So as you can see, the Turkish Lira has been higher in correlation with the Bund than it's been for the last few days. And as you can see, it dips in and out in terms of when you get news flow, news comments coming into the market. So I'm just going to move on to the actual trade we're looking at today. So what we're talking about is how to recognize these correlations. Now, the best way to recognize the correlations is to be able to often, I think, if you've got access to Reuters or Bloomberg, you can build a great correlation chart very easily. I'm sure if you don't know how already, you can find a very simple wizard that will tell you exactly how to build it. It would take 5 minutes, to be honest, to be able to build the correlation chart that you need. So here, using Reuters, we've got using Bloomberg, sorry, we've got the Bund BTP correlation. Now, the main reason that I'm showing this is to show the fluctuations that you get in the actual correlations between the two products. So when we've had these news comments and news events around the Italy government crisis, you can see that the Bund BTP, as we've spoken about before, is very negatively correlated. But at the end of the day, it's still a fixed income European 10-year product. So for the majority of the time, it's a positive correlation. However, when you get the Bund BTP, when you get the comments on the Italy news, when you get the news flow coming in, you get the spread blowing out, which means that people are buying Bund, selling BTP on the increased risk of Italian government failure. So as you can see here, we've got the majority of the time, as you can see, 50% of the time, more than 50% of the time, we've got a positive correlation. But when we've had the big news events, you can see it's dipped very negative. Now, at the period of the highest correlation, which was end of May, start of June this year, when the Italian crisis was the main theme, the spread was at almost minus 8.5. Now, I talked about this before, but after that, we were very quick to notice that maybe 2 days, 3 days after the correlation died down, it was positive again. Now, the reason I brought this up was I had a lot of people asking on the Skype, on the members chat, as to why the correlation wasn't very strong anymore. And it is simply that the correlation is this correlation specifically is very spread driven. So you're getting the inverse correlation directly from the spread traders who are, as I said before, buying the Bund and selling the BTP, or vice versa. When the spread's fading back, you're selling the Bund and buying the BTP. So as you can see, we've had in the last few months 2 big instances where we've had high negative correlation between the Bund and BTP. So if we just move on, this is the actual spread chart. So I wanted to show you, this is how I look at this, how I've looked over the Italian government crisis, how I've tried to recognise the spread blowing out. So I built a spread chart using my TT. This can be done on Reuters, Bloomberg, often through TT charts. Whatever charting platform you have, there should be a way to build a spread chart to be able to monitor the spread at all times. So as you can see, this is the Friday in question that we're talking about, and this was the open. So in the open, we got the BTP selling off the open. Now, I think in terms of what happened in the morning before, I think the IMF had said that they were pushing back their review of the Italian government and the Italian accounts, and there was sort of increased worry about the possibility of new elections, and it all sort of came to light overnight, and so we got some moves on the opens of Friday the 3rd in the morning. So this was how the spread chart looked. I'll go into the 5-minute charts of the Bund and the BTP solely after this. But this was the spread chart of the question morning, which was Friday the 3rd of August. So as you can see, we've had the sell-off in the morning in the BTP and the increased buying in the Bund. So that's caused the move up. And then we had a sort of stagnation for a little while, and then about an hour into cash, we got another blowout of the spread. So for me, you're not necessarily always going to know exactly how the spread traders are going to be taking the news overnight. So I don't necessarily think it was news that you'd come in the morning and instantly be buying the Bund or selling the BTP, whether you're a spread trader, an outright trader. I don't think you'd necessarily be coming in looking to play the spread or buy or sell each market specifically. But what was interesting is once you recognise that this theme was in play that morning, you could keep an eye on the spread charts to find another opportunity if the spread were to continue blowing out. So this second leg here in the spread, which came at about 8:55, about an hour into the cash trading session, gave you an opportunity to execute a correlation play within the markets. So this is obviously going to be in play for the Turkish Lira and the Bund in the next few days as we get news comments. If you can monitor your spread chart, once you know that that's the theme in the market, that's what's driving the market, then you have the opportunity to exercise your play with conviction. So these are the charts from the morning in question, and so we've got the Bund over here and the BTP over here. So as you can see, the open comes in and we get this blowing out, minus that bit, we get this initial blowout of the spread. As you saw in the spread chart, it was the same move in the Bund. You get the Bund, the spread traders increasing flow into the Bund on the long side and increasing flow into the BTP on the short side. Effectively managing their risk, allocating risk from a risky product into a less risky product. So as I said before, for me, this gave me the indication that I needed to be keeping an eye out on the Bund BTP correlation for the rest of the day to make sure that I was able to capitalize on any more moves within the spread that would cause some volatility on either side of the spread in both the Bund and the BTP. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the actual ladders and what was going on. And I think, to be honest, don't pay too much close to the actual trading in this, just pay attention to more the flow and what's going on in both markets. So if I bring over... Right, so here we have the ladders, and as you can see, I've got to the point in time now where it's this is at 9 o'clock now. So as you can see, this is my Bund, and now what I've done here is, you can just see over here, I've put the BTS over here. So this is the Italian 2-year, because that also was driving a lot of the flow in the BTP. So when the BTP and Bund flow was blowing out, the BTS, the Italian 2-year, was also selling off aggressively, and that often drove the move in the BTP, which drove the Bund. So for me, I needed to be able to see two ladders in close proximity to my Bund ladder, because that's the market I'd be trading over this, and it allows me to get a good view of what's going on in both markets whilst I monitor my main market. So if you watch here, I'm constantly monitoring, and here you can see the seller coming into the BTP. So this is my first instance to be getting something into the market. So now I'm going to be looking for a continuation. As soon as I see this breaking down, I'm instantly going to be increasing my size in the Bund. So this is, as I said before, you can very safely know that when you're buying a high, as long as you can continually see a seller in the BTP, often you get a bit of a lag in the Bund, and you can get your size on pretty safely and be able to manage your risk without worrying about going too far offside. So here you can see, look, I'm just going to rewind this and slow it down a little bit.